Welcome to the Commonwealth Policy Center's Candidate Forum. Hi, I'm Richard Nelson, your host. Joining us for this edition is Republican State Representative Matt Lockett of the 39th State House District, which covers Jessamine County and part of Fayette County. Representative Lockett has served 2 terms in the state legislature, and he is seeking a 3rd term. Matt, welcome to this Candidate Forum.
Thank you, Richard. Certainly nice to be here.
And just for the record, for all of those tuning in, we did invite the Democratic opponent, and they declined to attend. So, Matt, you will have an opportunity to introduce yourself to the voters, tell them maybe some of your accomplishments in the first couple of terms, and then also why you're running for a 3rd term. But I want to begin with this. What prompted you to run for office to begin with? And when you won office back in the 2020 election, that was your first win, you had run before and you lost. You ran against a Democratic incumbent who'd been in office for several years, back in 2012, I believe it was, but didn't win. But you kept at it. So what is it that... What prompted you to run for office? Let's start with that.
So the 39th district seat in the House, which, as you said, encompasses the majority of Jessamine County and then part of South Fayette County, had always been in the hands of a Democrat. And I believed, along with many others, that it was time for change. It was time for conservative leadership for that district and our area. And after the race in 2012, I jumped into the Jessamine County Republican Party, got very involved, became the chairman there. I was chairman for 6 or 7 years there, and then ran in 2020. And my whole purpose in running was really to say, I believe that the majority of people in our district in the 39th are conservative. Mm-hmm. And it's time that we have that conservative leadership. It's time that we show other people in the state that this is what we can do. We can flip a seat that was always Democrat, and that a Republican can be successful and can be elected. And I had several things that I wanted to jump in and do. And so at that time, I made the decision to run. And thankfully, by God's grace, was successful in doing that.
Matt, you brought up the word conservative. Now, you had, when you first ran in 2012, it was against Bob Dameron, who was a Democrat. He identified as a conservative. I want to know, how do you define the term conservative? What does that mean?
I believe a conservative is someone that is, one, a social conservative, so someone that would be pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, someone that is, especially this year, would be pro-school choice. And of course, that doesn't have to be conservative to be pro-school choice. But I think on the social issues, someone that believes in life, someone that will defend life, someone that believes that boys should not be playing girl sports, someone that believes that restrooms in school ought to be gender specific, on and on and on and on. And I think that's what, in a nutshell, if there is a definition of the word conservative, someone that can carry out those principles, someone that on the fiscal side believes that we should lower taxes, not raise them. Someone that believes that the government ought to be responsible with our spending, with what we have, and not spend too much. Someone that believes that every dollar that we do spend belongs to the taxpayer and that we should be wise with that. And what we see from the other side is the opposite of that. And I know, since you mentioned Bob Dameron, Bob has actually become a Republican since he held the office, because he has seen what a lot of people have seen about the Democrat Party, is that it left them. Yeah. People that said, hey, I'm a conservative, or I believe in these ideals, the party left them. And the party has gone in such a direction that is so far left and so far liberal that it just does not identify with the majority of Kentuckians and, frankly, the majority in the 39th district.
Matt, you brought up public schools. There's an issue in Fayette County where it was recently discovered that a new middle school that is in the process of being built, is called Mary E. Britton Middle School, is in its plans, has gender neutral restrooms where both young boys and young girls will be sharing common spaces. You had I believe the superintendent of Fayette County Public Schools that came to a committee that you serve on, and you had some questions of that. So what is the status of this middle school and the gender neutral restrooms there?
Yeah, so as you know, I presented a bill to the Education Committee that simply says any public school in Kentucky that receives taxpayer dollars will have to provide at least 90% of their restrooms specific to one particular gender. And so that was directed in response to the Britton Middle School being built in Fayette County. So in that testimony, of course, the superintendent came in, really denied that's what was happening. And of course, we had the blueprints, we had the plans, we have the district's overall plans, which call for gender neutral restrooms. Mm-hmm. And I was grateful that the news stations and so forth picked up this story. I got a lot of feedback. Most of it was positive from people in the community. Of course, you always have some people that don't like what you're doing, and that's okay. But overall, it was positive. And kind of the status, the last thing that the school system put out was they basically said, okay, yeah, you're right. These are going to be gender neutral restrooms, and we're not going to change them. They said that there are two sets of restrooms in the school that are gender specific. Those are there in the plans. They are located down by the gymnasium, which in the school plans is not anywhere close to the classrooms. Yeah. And so during the day, while students are in the classrooms and changing classes, they will have to use the restrooms that are gender neutral. We do plan on, and I've already talked to the chairman of the Education Committee. We do plan to bring the bill to the House, and I'm pretty certain that we will pass that. And so it is our goal to protect all children, and to say, look, going forward, if a school is built, it will have to have gender specific restrooms.
Very good. Moving on to another hot topic. Last week, Governor Andy Beshear issued an executive order essentially banning counselors and family therapists from helping minors with gender dysphoria or homosexual orientations from identifying with their born gender or steering them towards heterosexual identity. It's spelled out in his order that they can affirm homosexual or transgender identity of minors, but they cannot try to help them if that child or their parents want to help steer them towards, again, their born gender or a heterosexual orientation. Have you staked out a position on this issue?
I have, and I believe what the governor did is, one, unconstitutional. I believe the governor does not have the authority to issue such a proclamation and to basically change law on his own. And maybe the governor needs to go back to civics class where he learns the proper roles of each branch of government. The executive branch does not make law, which is what the governor here is trying to do, has tried to do in the past, and has gotten his hands slapped every time by the courts. And I believe that will be the same outcome here. But Richard, let's make no mistake about this. I believe the governor right now is showing his true colors, who he really is. I believe during the election, he tried to run to the middle and tried to paint himself as a moderate or even somewhat a conservative, because he knew that if people really knew who he was and and his beliefs that he would not have won in Kentucky. But this is an unconstitutional act. It's preposterous to think that a governor would come out with an order, which is frankly, in my opinion, about as worthless as the paper it's written on, to say you can't counsel a child, even if it's the parent that says, this is how I want my child counseled. They talk to a pastor, to say that you can't counsel a child against homosexuality, or you can't tell them to say, hey, this is wrong, or whatever the case may be. The governor likes to say when it's convenient for him that, we should have parent control, but when it's inconvenient for him and his ideology, which is extremely liberal, he doesn't want parent control.
Yeah, that's a good point. School choice, that has been a hot topic the last several months. Of course, the state legislature, including you, passed a measure that would change the Kentucky Constitution to allow for some form of school choice, specifically to allow money to be used outside of the common schools. How do you respond, Matt, to those who say this hurts public schools? You are gutting public schools. You hate public schools. You've heard all of those things. How do you respond to those who say that school choice, if this measure passes, is going to hurt public schools?
Well, I think first of all, you have to respond in love. You have to respond in such a way to say, well, here's the alternative facts. Facts are good things because you can't argue a fact. And the fact is that that's just simply not true. Mm-hmm. One, I believe the General Assembly has proven year after year and budget year after budget year mm-hmm. that our desire is to fund education. Mm-hmm. We haven't invested millions and record numbers of money into education, far and above what we are required to do on a constitutional basis. It is our goal that as we look at the numbers for education and test scores in Kentucky, where our students are proficient, where they're not, we have a lot of work to do. Yeah. We have a lot of ground to make up. And our students, unfortunately, are the ones that are suffering. And mm-hmm. so when we talk about and think about what we can do, it's got to be obvious to everybody that what we're doing isn't working. Whatever the case may be, what we're currently doing isn't working. And so to allow options to say, hey, we want to put you as a parent in the driver's seat. If the school that your child is in the district of isn't working for you or their education, you ought to have the right and the access to say, I'm going to take just the state allocated dollars and possibly look into other options. Yeah. They may find them, they may not. But the bottom line is, if you look at overall funding, what the school gets from the state is small compared to what the school gets from property taxes. Yep. And so overall, the school itself, this is not going to suffer. If anything, it'll make the school better. Yep. Over and over, we can look at other states and say, hey, we are one of two states in the entire nation that has zero opportunities for school choice. One of two. And yet we rank close to number 40 in education outcomes. I mean, there's got to be a better way to do what we're doing. And so I believe that this is a step in the right direction. As you know, Amendment 2 does not make any policy decisions. It doesn't say this is how we're going to do it. This is not what the other side calls a voucher bill. That's a lie straight from the governor's office. Mm-hmm. It is not a voucher bill. It's a bill that says we want the General Assembly to begin the public discussion of other ways that we can do education in this state. And that is all that's on the ballot. That's it.
Kentucky is at a crossroads. We can choose to give in to the radical left, or we can choose to engage the culture in a God-honoring way.
I started the Commonwealth Policy Center because I believe that Christians have a responsibility to influence government and society to the glory of God. While the Commonwealth Policy Center's made a significant impact, our work isn't finished. If you'd like to join our movement working for timeless values, then head to our website.
To learn more, go to commonwealthpolicycenter.org.
Very good. If you're just joining us, you're tuned in to the Commonwealth Policy Center's Candidate Forum. I'm Richard Nelson here with House 39 State Representative Matt Lockett, and Matt is on the ballot this November. Matt, you spoke out against an allocation that the state legislature gave to public schools across the Commonwealth. Fayette County Public Schools received a big chunk of money, big increase from last year, but you found that the Fayette County Public School Board of Education approved essentially bonuses to system administrators, and these bonuses range from $8,000 to $81,000. And this is what you said in a column that you wrote. This move by Fayette County Public Schools is extremely frustrating and disappointing. We've provided a record amount of funding for public education, even after adjusting for inflation, with the specific intent of boosting pay for the women and men who work on the front lines of our public education system. Then you went on to say that you were hopeful that the board would reconsider their decision, perhaps using the money to restore programs that have been cut and provide even more support to students and teachers. Has the Fayette County Public School System reconsidered how they allocated that money?
They have not. And can you imagine? It's kind of, when I think about this, can you imagine any school system, whether it's Fayette County, Jessamine County, any of them in the Commonwealth, a school system that continually says, which they do, continually says, we need more funding. We need more funding. We need more funding. And then we oblige, and year after year, we allocate more funds. We pay for things like all-day kindergarten. We pay transportation, all the buses at 100%. We continue to pour millions and millions and millions of dollars into the teachers' retirement fund. We do all of this, and yet we continue to hear we need more funding.
Yeah.
And then when we do send more funding, which was supposed to be for teacher raises, a lot of districts did that. Yeah. They got the extra funding and said, hey, thank you. All of our teachers get an 8% raise, or whatever the case could be. Mm-hmm. But imagine the scenario like what we had, where a district says, thank you for the funding. Instead of passing that down to the teachers where it was allocated and meant to go, we're going to give that to administrators at the top.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a teacher, and I heard from a lot of teachers in Fayette County, which, number one, thanked me over and over and over again, because they're frustrated.
Yeah.
They are frustrated with the system that says, we know that you're on the front lines. We know that you're the one that is dealing with the discipline issues in the classroom. We know that you're the one that is teaching the students on a daily basis. But instead of passing along these funds to you for a raise, mm-hmm. we're going to give $81,000 to the assistant superintendent. It just blows my mind. And a lot of people ask, well, how come you can't just give the money directly to the teachers? The simple answer is teachers are not state employees. So the General Assembly does not have the authority to say, we are going to send you a check or we are going to give you extra dollars. It has to flow through the individual boards of education.
Okay. Matt, we are running out of time here. I'd like to do a lightning round if I could.
Yeah.
I'm going to say a topic and you say for it or against it.
Okay.
Okay. Sanctity of human life, banning abortion.
For it. I was just endorsed by Kentucky Right to Life, something I'm very proud of.
Very good. How about abortion exceptions?
No.
Okay. Pro-gun ownership?
Yes. Endorsed by the NRA.
Okay. Recreational marijuana?
No. I voted against it.
Expanded gambling?
No.
Increased taxation?
Absolutely not.
Okay, very good. That was our lightning round. We've got just a minute. You've got the last minute to make your case to the
Awesome.
voters as to why they should vote for you on Tuesday, November the 5th.
I think if you look at the overall direction of our state, and if you say that you want to be represented by someone that carries conservative values, that carries common sense, that is community focused, then I'm your guy. I'm someone that does work tirelessly for my constituents to stand up for those principles, because I love this state, and I want to make sure that our state stays in the hands of conservatives, so that as we go forward, we can advance those principles that we've all come to love.
Okay, very good. Matt Lockett, thank you so much for joining us. Thank all of you for tuning in, and don't forget to vote. Election Day is on Tuesday, November the 5th. Early voting begins on Thursday, November the 1st, so make sure that you get out and vote.
That's right. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome. God bless.